everybody. So this is your pre-keynote warning that I swear sometimes, if that makes anyone uneasy, that there's some very dry presentations going on over on lithium or gold or something. A quick intro about me, if you don't know who I am. My name's Chris Parry. I work at Equity.Guru. I started it 2 years ago with the mandate to talk investing to people who don't get talked to. That includes women, it includes millennials, it includes people who've never invested before because they think it's about RSPs. What we tend to do is we take money from companies to include them in the conversation. Part of that deal is they don't get a sales letter sent out by us. We don't cheerlead everything. We hold them to a higher level of intrigue than we do non-clients. We figure if we can go through a company, take their check, and say negative things about them because they're warranted, that when we finally come around to saying nice things about them, that actually means something. So that's been our business model. It goes against everything that anyone else in our industry does, but it's been very profitable for us and very successful. We don't have a whole lot of dogs amongst our client list, and we have a lot of very happy readers. My theory today is that millennials in particular, but more and largely the entire Vancouver financial markets, don't give a shit about grade, and they don't give a shit about your backdrop there with your picture of a truck. What they really want to know is, what are you doing to promote your company? What are you doing to tell your story? What are you doing that's different? Are you in a sector that's going to be around in a big way in a couple of years? Is there anything really to what you're doing? So, with that in mind, I give you everything is horrible, but you can make money out of misery maybe sometimes. To paraphrase Hunter Thompson, the mining business is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs. There's also a negative side. I have made good money, a good amount of money investing in mining, and here's how: by never actually investing in an actual mine. As soon as there's a mine, I'm not really interested anymore. That's just a standard vanilla business. You can all get into that. That's more RSP stuff. I'm looking for something that's going to give me doubles and triples and quadruples. I also assume that everyone I deal with is a grifter and a scumbag. I see a lot of you nodding, and a lot of you saying, not me. Everyone in this industry is out to make money by taking money from somebody else. That's just the way it works. We're all either better at that than the other people, or we're worse and we lose money. And the other way I make money is by identifying the scams and figuring out if I can take advantage of those scams for profit. Let's make that in nice, easy terms. Your average Vancouver pump and dump, 4-month operation. It involves a lot of money spent on marketing. A lot of guys get in early, nice and cheap. They spend $1 million marketing their story for a month. It goes from 5 cents to 15 cents. Everyone thinks, my God, this is going to $1. It's going to be fantastic, and starts getting at 20 and 50, while those original guys are selling out at 40 and 30 and 20. I know that's going to happen. You guys know it's going to happen. We could have a really great story out there that we've had a project that's going to make a lot of gold happen, but that's not really where I'm going to make my money. Where I'm going to make my money is anyone going to hear that story? Is anybody going to actually buy into that story? So just listing your achievements in grade on the backdrop of your convention booth, it doesn't really work for me, because everybody's doing that. There are technical guys out there, that's all they want to do. I want to know, how are you going to actually tell that story in a way that's going to make my readers, guys who are made their money in weed and made 500 and 600%, made money in crypto and made 500 and 600%, how are they going to look at your thing, which they might make 20% on, and say, that's where I'm going to put my money next? Admittedly, this may all seem a little bit negative, but realistically, it's a shell game. As I said, you guys are looking to take money from the guy sitting next to you because you're smarter or more insightful than they are, and they're looking to take your money out of your pocket while you're at it. It's also a very terrible shell game, as you can see in the animated GIF there. A lot of people that are in this business that think they're the smartest guys in the room are actually the dumbest. So if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, because I did title this NI 43-101s from under 45s, we can go into the 43-101s if you like. That's what it looks like. There's a map that shows you what prehistoric era the stones in the ground were formed in. Here's something that tells you about how they prepared the samples. Interesting shit. Not really. So here's all you really need to read. Section 25, Interpretations and Conclusions. This is where the very serious GO has spent 6 months putting this 120-page document together, actually gets to the interesting shit, where it's like, there's stuff in the ground, and uses words like inferred, indicated, Measured, usually not probable, almost never proven. That's the only page you need to worry about for an entire 43101 that the company has spent 9 months putting together, and endless teams of people have gone and dug into the ground and walked over and flown over in helicopters. And it all comes down to this one paragraph. So, if we're looking at the chances that you're going to make money in mining the old-fashioned way, taking it through to its conclusion, which is what most of the people out there telling you their story are hoping you will do, these are the odds, and they're not really great. 10% of the companies that go exploring find something that you can actually do something with. 1 in 1,000 will get to a place where there's an actual mine, and that world-class, triple your money, quadruple your money, 10 times your money, that's a 3,000 to 1 odds opportunity. If they put that over the doorway of this convention, nobody would come. So, how do we make money from this miserable, miserable existence? Well, here's one group that made a lot of money. It's a company called Graphite.Energy. They got an option on a little piece of property in Quebec, and the previous 2 people that drilled it realized that if they wanted to get the graphite out, they'd have to drain a lake, and that's probably not very cost effective, so they let it go. And someone else came along and did a bit of a promotion, and then they let it go. And then finally Graphite.Energy came along, cleaned up their trading bans of their board and directors, and decided that they're going to be the next ones that are actually going to turn this into a world-class graphite mine. And if you read all of the promotional material that came with it, you might have believed it. In fact, the promotional material took this thing from, as you can see, 30 cents or so to $1.80 in about 6 weeks. Then, of course, the CEO sold all his stock and quit the job so he didn't have to file insider paperwork. So you'd never know that there was a big inside sell-off that went from $1.80 down to 59 cents in one day. The next day they announced they were going to raise money at 50 cents, which good luck filling that out. But this is a classic pump and dump. So we dug into this a little bit to find out how this actually worked. How do you get smart, well-meaning people to not look at the documentation that shows that this property is a piece of shit and actually put their money into it? Well, what it comes to is paid promotion for groups like, in this case, this is streetsignals.com, a website that if you went to, you'd think this is a financial news website. It has stories about Tesla and Google, and deep in the background it has a story about Graphite.Energy, where it claims, in this particular case, that that it's comparable to these other big companies like SunPower, a NASDAQ company, Global X Lithium, a New York Stock Exchange company, First Solar and Alcoa, and Graphite.Energy. These are all the same company, obviously. Billion-dollar companies with a company that was maybe a $2 million market cap. Down the line there, it says, graphene is produced at this mine. Graphite.Energy doesn't have a mine. There's no mine. It's trees with a bit of a trench dug out by someone about 20 years ago. But apparently they're producing graphene. All right, fine. That's a lie. They also have the lead on other mining juniors because they're so great. Actual drilling begins this week. That didn't happen. And they're the first domestic junior mining company to bring the mineral to the North American market. The first junior mining company to bring graphite to the North American market. You'd have to be an idiot to believe that. Nobody reads this and believes it. What they do is they read it and they understand that there's going to be idiots out there that are going to say, there's a heavy promotion on this company, so I should buy it now. So many fucking lies. We also looked at other things that this company had put together in their promotional side of things. There's a PR that went out to Cision PR Newswire, and if you look into the disclaimer, you find all these things that basically say, hey, we don't believe any of this shit that we're running. We didn't write this. Don't blame us. Please do not in any way, shape, or form sue us for the absolute fucking lies that we put out from a public company. Now, the public company could say, hey, we didn't do this. This is someone who invested in us and they spent money and they did the promo, nothing to do with us. Well, in actual fact, further down the disclaimer, you find that a third party paid for this thing to release on behalf of Graphite.Energy Corp. So this is a public company that's spending money promoting themselves in the seediest fucking websites you've ever looked at. They've got more words in the disclaimer than they've ever got on the stories. And if you look in the disclaimer, it is just one line after another saying, please don't believe us, we are lying, none of this is true, entertainment purposes only, please don't invest your money in this thing, you will lose everything. And yet, the stock price went from 40 cents to $1.80. So who paid street signals? The good thing about the US market is if you go into the disclaimer of all these paid content websites, they have to list how much money they've taken and from who, which is great for me because it's like a client lead list. I can go out and say, really? You paid, what did you pay here? $94,000 for 12 days of promo on one terribly written article that contains lies that are actionable and that the BCSC should be taking you to task for. 94 grand. Shit, I charge half of that for 6 months. Who else paid? Third party there, Hilton Capital paid $400,000 for that story. And the company itself paid an extra $100,000. This is a company that said it had raised 800 grand to drill, and they paid $1 million plus for about 1 month of promo before everyone sold the stock and it went to shit. So why isn't the BCSC up in arms about this? Why aren't the Quebec regulators up in arms about this? Because they don't want to deal with this shit. This is on you. You're supposed to look at the disclaimer. You're supposed to know where your money's going. You don't look at the 43101. I don't look at the 43101. But clearly someone out here is buying this stuff and not actually looking at where it's coming from. And the only thing I can think of to make that make sense is that all of you know it's bullshit. All the paid promo is bullshit. But you're thinking, I understand this. I'm smarter than the guys that don't know it's bullshit. So I'm going to buy it now and I'm going to be out before they're out. So if I go into the Blue Sky Investor newsletter, which claims it's North America's fastest growing financial newsletter, it actually isn't. It has one story. All the other stories are stolen from that other website that I talked about. If you go to Google Finance and you look up the news pieces on most public companies, you'll find a lot of stories that are either written by script, they're written by robots, or they're written by people at the first year of the journalism program at Capilano University. We tracked down who was actually writing this stuff, and it's all CapU first-year grads in the journalism school, which is a terrible thing to say about journalism, but it's also a terrible thing to say about the state of financial information in this marketplace. The people that we write for, the millennials, they know this because it's their friends writing this stuff. They go on Twitter and they see there's 30 guys humping Graphite Energy Corp saying it's going to be the next greatest thing. They know the scam. You guys know the scam. You've been around long enough. All these guys out here are talking about grade and talking about how we're going to start drilling. It's going to be great because there's demand in this sector. None of it matters because the best story told out there will move the stock from 15 cents to 20 cents. And then they've got to drill in 6 months and they've got to wait for their data to come in. Nobody's waiting around, so the stock goes back down to 10 cents and they don't know what's happening, so they raise a bunch more money and they hope that people don't burn the paper. It's a mess. Whereas these guys go and spend $500,000 to raise a market cap by $40 million and nobody looks because you're either making money from it or you lost money and you don't want to think about it. So why does anyone invest in mining explorers when the whole damn thing is rigged and fraudulent? Profit potential. This is QMC Quantum Minerals, a company that we wrote about a year and a half ago when it was at 10 cents. We made fun of them because it was a couple of old guys in a rented shared office space downtown here, and they roped off a bit of cow pasture up in Manitoba and said there's lithium there, and no one believed them. And so we wrote a story and we said, look, we've taken a check from them to talk about this company, but there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing there. Like literally, you're looking at a 72-year-old guy sending guys out in helicopters to see if maybe they can find some lithium. It's not a $10 million company. Then they went out and they did some promo that isn't so honest, and they went up to $1.60. It was great. We couldn't actually get our share certs from them because they weren't happy with what we were saying. So we would have sold out at 20 cents, quite frankly. We managed to get the share certs finally when they were at $1.30 and made good money. But there's money to be made in the bottom end of things when all you're talking about is a 72-year-old guy sending a guy out to walk around a property and say, I think there's some lithium here. If that thing goes well, there's massive amounts of money to be made. Now also massive amounts of money to be lost on the other end when it becomes obvious that it's a cow pasture with a couple of rocks on it. Vaporware is profitable. So QMC, this is QMC's most recent list of news releases. If you can see those news releases, they all say the exact same thing. Hey, in the 1950s, there was a mine here once. Historical numbers. It's all they talk about. For a year now, all they've talked about is, hey, there's some historical numbers. But people keep buying the stock. Why else would you buy into junior mining? News catalysts. When things are done right, there's actually a lot of opportunity to make money on lifts based on interesting news. This is First Cobalt that has done a lot of work in the Cobalt, Ontario area, that has pulled together a couple of acquisitions. Every time I look, First Cobalt has got news out. It's a good, well-run company doing the right things. So if you're investing in First Cobalt, you don't have to sit there waiting for your money to sit around for 6 months and get a return. Chances are in 2 weeks they'll have another piece of news, whether it be an acquisition or whether it be actual drilling, and there's money to be made. The other thing is investor churn. Now, millennials don't get this yet. They don't have this in cannabis. They don't have it in crypto. This is Lithium X. If you look at the Lithium X chart there's 3 different generations of investor in that deal. The first lift was the guys that get into shells and the guys that understand sector hotness. Then they got out once it got really a little bit too heated. Then you get the new guys in that are like, oh, they're moving to South America now. They're actually doing some deals. This is my phase 2. I'm in. Those guys eventually get out and they get replaced by, hey, there's talk of acquisitions. This is not the same investor from start to finish. This is different investors coming in and coming out. In marijuana, you're looking at the same investor at the beginning as you are at the end, and they're all telling themselves the same stories. In mining, your investors come in and your investors come out. And if the companies run the right way, those new investors give new life to the stock. And the other reason we're invested in mining is high risk, high reward. Listen, anyone out there who ever says the word definitely in any of their projects is coming afoul of the rules. There's no definites in mining. Every single person with the best of intentions, 9 times out of 10 is going to fuck up at the end. So your money is out there with a high level of risk attached to it. Even if you think you understand this property 100%, right out to the door there, Nexus Gold. I was in that company a year ago. They got a call from a newsletter writer who had invested in their company and said, hey, you know what? I think you should make me CEO. And the newsletter writer was rebuffed and said, well, okay. I sure hope nothing bad happens to your stock. The next day, that stock went down 30%. Straight up selling into the bid. No profit to be had. Just someone just destroying that company. And they got another call saying, hey, I think we can probably fix your problem if you make me CEO. And they said no. Down that stock went again, another 30%. They are only just now, after a rollback, putting that thing back together. The property that they're sitting on has been progressing. But the actual company is just absolutely cut to ribbons. So for us, for my millennial guys, that's an opportunity. When I did the walking tour yesterday of companies that I really like, I took people to Nexus because a company that's been extorted and blackmailed and driven into the dirt but still has money in the bank and now has a property worth going after, that's profit potential for me. Mining is essentially a horse race where you can lay your bets all the way to the finish. At the very beginning, your odds are high. If you win, you're going to get a great return. As you get closer around that bend, your odds are reducing. Your return's not going to be as great. When we see mines that are just about ready to go to production, there's no return really there at all. Everything's already baked in. So what our guys are really looking at is that early stage. How can I try and make that horse race early rather than how can I get there towards the end? Additionally, while we all love a working mine because the story's been told and generated and proven and everyone's doing exactly what they said they were going to do, how many of you have seen a great working mine with a good story and then the stock price just goes down and down and down and down? This is Lucara Diamonds, which is run by the best people in the business. I mean, Lucas Lundin, holy crap. The people that run this thing are the creme de la creme. And they're pulling out of the ground, that's a baseball-sized diamond. They're pulling those out of the ground every other day. The problem is there's no one to sell those to. So as much as it's a great productive mine, it's not a great stock story. So how do we understand the cycles? So in the shell financing stage, the masses say, I don't know anything about this company, but hey, what's going on? It could be great. There's some volume. The insiders say, please, family and friends, buy everything cheap. Then you move through to the market issue hype stage, where the insiders are getting a bit less of a good deal, but still a great deal. And the masses are saying, oh my God, this is so hot. I can't wait for it to come public. Then it finally goes public, and 4 months later, it's selling off. And everyone's like, what happened? Everything was so great. I can't understand how this thing's going down. While the insiders are saying, thank you very much. I'm going to take out those warrants and double my money. Then you get the fight back promo stage, where they decide now we're going to finally spend $1 million a quarter and get some promotion back. So we'll go to hotmarketprofittrades.com and get them to say it's going to be fantastic. And all you guys that are on the inside, you know exactly what's happening here. You're trying to get those chumps to get back in on the deal so you can get rid of the last of your paper. And then those guys just keep making money, raising money, selling out, while the poor little schlubs out here were putting their life savings in what should be a great project are watching their life savings disappear. And then you get the milestone churn phase where everyone just decides, all right, there's no more opportunity here at all. The insiders have made their money, the outsiders have lost their money, and everyone goes on to the next shiny thing. So, in the short term, making money from mining means understanding that everything is going to rip you off and everyone is out to get your money, figuring out what the cycles are, getting in and out of those cycles before everybody else. In the longer term, look, if you really think a project is good, if you think Nexus Gold is going to be the next thing that pops and that gold is going to be great because Trump's an idiot and we're all going to make loads of money on it, put your money in there and stop looking at the damn share price. Because these cycles are insane. If you chase these pennies to get dollars, you're going to actually end up losing all your money. If you bet on a sector that you believe is going to be around in a couple of years and it's going to be good and that the people in your deal are smart people who've done it before and have confirmed exits and haven't got 4 or 5 pump and dumps that have gone up and down, put your money in there and lock it down. But don't see it as junior investing. See it as investing. See it as a long-term call. Finally, observe the macro trends. Really, no one gives a shit if your lithium mine has lithium in it. If lithium's a hot sector, they're just buying every lithium mine. Anyone who says they've got any lithium is going to go up if lithium is the hot flavor of the month. When cobalt was the flavor of the month, man, I saw some shitty cobalt deals. Like, I'm pretty sure people were just buying cobalt on Amazon and throwing it in a cow field and saying, I got a cobalt mine. It's pretty great. Understand that what's happening next year, what you'll be doing business with next year is going to dictate what the mining industry is going to have to go after in the next 6 to 12 months. And that usually the mining sector is a cycle behind demand. So if lithium is hot, by the time the lithium plays all start actually activating, lithium's not hot anymore. Demand has already been turned off. Cobalt's hot, everyone suddenly is cobalt mad, cobalt's not hot anymore. The whole thing is game theory. I'm getting waved off. You can invest in a pump and dump. I invest in pump and dumps every fucking day because I know they're pump and dumps. You can make money on a pump and dump. You make more money on a pump and dump than you do on a 2-year run on a gold mine. But you just have to get out of it. In January, I stood on this stage or that stage at Cambridge House and I said, everybody invested in weed, get out, sell every goddamn thing you have. And half the people in the audience were like, you're an idiot. It's going to double again, it's going to triple again. The other half got out. 3 days later, marijuana was gone for the year and hasn't come back since. Why? Because common sense. We'd all made 1,000% on our money. Take your money, get rich, stay rich, instead of chasing the next 200% and losing it all. That's all from me. Peace out. Thank you very much. I hope I haven't ranted too much. You can read more at Equity.Guru, where we accept no bullshit and we do not sell you out.